All good? Okay. All right. Questions for Coach?
The Southern Miss quarterback transfer from Florida State hadn't played a whole lot. Were you able to find out much about him or be able to watch much film of him?
Yeah, good player. He came in, when Jordan Travis went down, and played really well. He can stand up there, he can deliver it, he can spin it. Tall, he can see over the O-line. He can, he's an adequate mover. He can get around. He'd prefer, obviously, to stay in the pocket if he could. But, no, I think he's a really good player. Made some really good throws in that Florida game. Was doing a great job sort of, handling that environment. And, had the unfortunate, with the concussion, and really scrambled great. No, I mean, he's going to be a big challenge for us. And, he's going to come from a system that he's fairly familiar with, obviously coming from Florida State and, the OC and the head coach there at Southern Miss, have, ties with Coach Norville there at Florida State. So, there's a lot of crossover there, and I'm sure there's some comfort for Rodemaker, when making that decision.
Obviously, it's been a couple of years now, but they were able to get the best of you guys a couple of years ago. How much do you use that to kind of motivate your defense and kind of tell them not underestimate them?
Honestly, none. For me, personally, it was before, I'd gotten here. So obviously, if it was before I got here, it was before any of the players and anybody else on the defensive side of the coaching staff. But we don't need to look back like that to get motivation. There's plenty of recent occurrences, where if we don't play well, you're in a dogfight for 4 quarters, and sometimes you're on the wrong end or close to the wrong end. So our guys understand that. I've got no worries about them being a letdown or looking ahead or any of that. Their sole focus has been Southern Miss. They've dove hard into it. We've tried to do a real deep dive. There's a lot of unknowns, sort of stepping in. 1, because it's the first game. 2, it's a different coordinator. 3, a lot of different personnel. So we've got to focus, and the focus has been on us to execute.
So what do you know?
Just get the microphone correction. All right, good deal.
What do you know from what you've seen from Southern Miss that will test your defense a little bit in week 1?
Well, Coach Long, their new OC, is a seasoned play caller. Notre Dame, Tulane, Georgia Tech, we've seen him, in crossover stuff. He's been an analyst at Tennessee back in 20 when we played down there, and last year at Louisville. So, there's familiarity sort of from both sides, and stems from sort of all the way back when he was a GA for Coach Petrino. And so it's a system that'll stress you with shifts, motions, pre-snap, post-snap. They find ways to get the playmakers the ball. We understand that. There's going to be some unique looks that we probably haven't practiced, and our guys are just going to have to fall back on their rules and execute.
But being close to the season, have you kind of seen a guy that's kind of stood out in the defense that's going to be the vocal leader of the team this year?
No, I think this group has kind of passed the torch. I say pass the torch. They kind of pass the baton around. Like, it's kind of a day-by-day thing a little bit. Some days you hear, Zion. Some days you hear De'Eric. Some days, it's somebody from the D-line, whether it's, Trey Ripko or Dion and, Max out at corner. Like, it's really more of a group collective effort than a single guy, and we'll see as the season goes along and those situations get really tense, like who that voice is ultimately. But right now that's sort of been a shared, which isn't a bad thing, but as long as they stay together in those big moments, that's the key.
Brad, do you have all the experience you have at 3 levels as a coaching staff? Is it less or is it more assuring that less could go wrong? Do you have all the experience, or does that even matter?
No, I think it matters. Experience matters. That's not, but it doesn't necessarily always relieve the anxiety that you have as a coach. Like, I think that's always going to be there. It doesn't matter young, old, a lot of starts, because the bottom line is you have to live up to it. The players that have been talked to a lot or been talked about a lot, they have to live up to that bill. The guys that maybe haven't been, they've got to be able to, hey, in those moments, show why they do belong, or why they should maybe get talked about more. As a coaching staff, we have to do a good job in those big moments, of making the right adjustments, being able to communicate with the players in the right way that they can execute and they feel comfortable and calm. So, the experience helps a little bit because I think they understand what to expect from us, as a coaching staff. But we always know every season's different, every ebb and flow is different, and so we always have to be ready to adjust.
Brad, a lot of people have been asking us about that oar with Rayner there with Pop on the depth chart since it got put out. What have you seen from Deverin?
Yeah, I think the oars on the depth chart mean we've got guys that we feel like we have multiple guys that can play and they fill that role. And so to have predefined spots, it is what it is. I mean, depth charts are funny to me. That's play number one. Right, and I mean, I think you go to our 2 top 10 draft picks this year. I don't know how many combined starts they had on the basketball team, right? But obviously they had plenty of talent and they got plenty of play. So it's the same thing in any sport. Whether you start the game at kickoff, at the end of the day, however many reps that you get. And it could be a lot, it could be a little bit, whatever your role is, we need all our guys to do that at a really high level. And then the higher level they do it, they tend to get more snaps the next game.
And so, just from the nature of defense, whoever wears that helmet top is probably going to rotate in and out more than the quarterback does on offense. So does that automatically go to his replacement, or do you have a way to designate from position to position?
No, that's the harder part there on defense, right? Is that, depending on what kind of personnel package, if you're trying to get a guy a rest, to be able to have hey, throw this helmet on, get this guy out so he can switch his helmet out, get that one out. Like, we've gone so long without it. Like, if we have to play some downs without a helmet comm, it's not that big of a deal. It is what it is. We have everything in place to be able to execute. If we have one out there, obviously that's a bonus, and it gives me the ability to talk to somebody that can communicate there on the field.
Brad, Mark talked Monday about how the second cornerback spot across from Max is still an evaluation process. Is that a testament to the trust you have in multiple guys, or do you kind of want someone to emerge as that guy early in the season?
No, I think it's a trust in multiple guys, but like anything else, as the season progresses, if somebody emerges, if somebody's playing better, and listen, all those guys on the depth chart that don't have an oar, if they're not playing well, guess what? The guy below them is going to jump up. So, don't read so much into that. Like, what you need to read is on game day, who's on the field, who's executing, because guess what? They're going to take way more snaps the next week. But yes, to your question, we have confidence in those guys. Would I like to see, someone emerge? Sure. That was like a couple years ago with Kibo, right? Like, we had the balance, and then Kibo stepped up and then just played unbelievable. Well, a guy plays at that level, a second team All-SEC level, you're not going to take him off the field. And you're going to be really happy that he's on the field. So, yes, do we hope somebody emerges? If it's still, they continue to make each other better and we're able to have a clean rotation, that's better for us. We got, guys that are fresh in the fourth quarter.
Brad, you mentioned that just having experience doesn't alleviate the anxiety or all the anxiety. Does it get any easier year to year when you're a defensive coordinator after several years? Is your night still the same the night before the game, or is it a little easier as you go on?
You know what? That's a great question. For me, it's still very much the same. Are there certain things where, I'm less anxious? Yes. Because you realize, hey, listen, you can only control so many things. So you can't just worry yourself to death on, the uncontrollables. But, I've also felt that if I don't respect the process that I go through every week and I neglect it, or I say, you know what, I've got this just like we tell the players, the game has a way to sneak up and humble you really quick. And so, I try to respect that same process every year and dive into each team and put in, the time to each opponent. Now, do I have a little bit more efficiency in how I do it than year one? Yeah, because I know what to expect.
Okay, folks, thank you very much. Need to get to our players.
Thank you.
Oh, we so excited. I feel like we prepared so well. We're getting closer and closer by the day. So now it's just time to go out there and show everybody.
Max, there's a lot of oars on the depth chart in that secondary, and Mark said it's just because they have a lot of confidence in a lot of the starters out there and the guys with them and things like that. How deep is that secondary this year?
It's really so deep. You can really go down the line. We have guys that are, freshmen, newbies that can really hop in and make an impact. So, like I said in the last interview, this is the deepest the corner room has been since I've been here. So I feel like everybody in that room could possibly have a role in this season to have an impact.
He kind of mentioned you as a guy that's kind of separate on that because of experience and the reps that you've had. Are you kind of taking on that leadership role with some of those guys that are maybe fighting for playing time behind you?
Yeah, of course. But, I kind of don't even look at it as like that. I'm just going out there with my brothers. So, I feel like we compete every day against each other. So everyone needs to be held accountable, including myself. And I just feel like that's what brought us together. It's just everyone being there for each other. Even though we're competing for a spot, everyone still loves each other. It's still a brotherhood.
What do you guys know about Kentucky Wildcat offensively, what they're able to do, what you guys have to stop?
Well, they have a weapon at receiver at number one. And then, their offense, you can see a little tempo. You can see they like to take their fair dose of shots. But, their offense is, they move around. They move guys around. They motion a lot. So we're expecting, a full playbook. And then we're just excited for the competition.
Max, what's anything different about the corners this year? Any kind of the style of play or anything like that? Anything y'all really trying to going after or go for?
I feel like we got guys in the room that are kind of all over the place in play style. We have, the taller corners and DJ, JQ, who like to, use their size. We got the smaller corners, but gritty guys like Rye, Q. We got JD that can play corner and nickel. So I feel like this room is just full of, different type of play, and it all works together. I feel like this group, like I said, is so diverse. We got weapons.
A lot of the offensive guys have mentioned JQ and just some of the things he's been doing. What have you seen just from him and his growth?
Just work. All I see when I see JQ is just work. And, he puts the time in off the field, and I feel like it really started to show close to the end of camp that, it's paying off and that you can tell that he's doing extra. I love seeing that coming out of JQ for real.
Coach White mentioned it's kind of a day-by-day thing when it comes to the leadership of the defense, maybe the focal point. What does that say about the defense? And has there been anybody that's kind of stood out to you that's kind of trying to make that presence as the leader of the defense?
It just says that really everybody on this defense is a leader in their own way. We all take into account what each and everyone has to say, because at the end of the day it's a brotherhood and we all want to see each other win. So I feel like this defense, we're so close that I couldn't even call out a singular vocal. I just feel like everybody, we all talk to each other, we all communicate, young to old, old to young, so just feel like we got that tightness that everybody can speak up.
All right, everybody good? All right, good deal. Okay.
Thanks, Max.
All right. Rock.
JJ, you know you're going into your final year this time. How does it feel? You've been around so long. Does it feel any different than you started your season?
Man, I feel like I'm taking it as every year for real. First game out, you gonna have butterflies, but once you get out there, it's gonna be like practice. Just getting back in the rhythm of things. But I'm excited. Final year, I got a lot to show, a lot to prove on, a lot of techniques I gotta work on. So I'm excited.
Yeah, how much of that in the offseason, when you made your decision to come back, because you had some things to work on, how much of that have you improved over the offseason?
True, every day. I've been working every day. Me, Coach White, me and Coach Ed, our strength conditioning coach, we work on it every day. Every day I try and work on my technique, work on my hand placement, my get off and everything.
What are you most eager to learn about your defensive unit on Saturday?
Get sacks. That's the goal this year. You're trying to get a lot of sacks this year. Just get after the quarterback this year for real.
Every team's different, but you've been on a few defenses now here at Kentucky. How does this one compare to some of the other ones?
Good question, but this group's just more younger, you know. But they listen, they lead by example, and they eager, they ready to go. Last defense I've been on, they already know it. They been through the system already, but this, everybody fresh, brand new. So we excited for sure.
Kind of along those lines, you've been back there with some guys in the past, but with Pop in particular, you and him, how do you guys complement each other with your game?
A lot. Pot headhunter for sure. So he just blow everything up. Got Dion right there, and then me just clean everything up. Just, us three, us four. You forgot about De'Ara Jackson too. So it's just a dominant force this year. Just adding Pop for sure.
Everybody good? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay. Everybody good? All right. Thank you very much. Thanks,
Yes,
Jake.
sir, yes, sir. Thank you.
Is that right?
Is that it? Yep.
Kevin Williams has the
Which one?
I just did the meeting.
wanted to be back in